Good afternoon, I'm Carrie Puterbaugh. I'm not passionate about a lot of things. Well, there's a few things, but I am very passionate about Hexawise, and I'm so excited to bring this to you all today. More about the company I work for, $1 trillion in assets, 16 million clients, 37 countries, and frankly, regression testing was something that was costing us quite a bit of money. We had applications that have been around over 20 years. Some of them have been acquired from other vendors. Literally thousands of test cases in HPQC that a lot of the testers couldn't even tell me why they were there. Warren was there during a big project called 1BD. People just weren't around anymore. We kind of had garbage, and we didn't know what kind of coverage we had. So over time, we had these thousands of test cases. It was expensive to execute those. It was costly to automate. We started looking at automation on that order entry feature. Again, spending a lot of time trying to figure out what data to pump into that. We didn't know what our coverage was. What was happening was the vendor was delivering this application to our UAT environment, and Zach and his team were uncovering, at some point it was hundreds of defects in the UAT build that we had just assumed would be production ready. We also had a need for automated testing. You can imagine trying to go through all those different reports, printing PDFs. Warren, who works at the same company, does automation. His team was able to come up with an automated way to check PDFs, so that was helpful, but we still really weren't sure about our coverage. What Zach decided to do with this is we already had the 85 test cases built that Warren's team was running in automation. And he said, you know what, I'm going to go back and reverse engineer our test cases and just see what kind of coverage we have. And so what Zach discovered was he was actually covering what 40 of the Hexawise test cases would do in the 85 test cases he was running manually. He said, you know what, because the project had said this is third-party vendor software. Why are we spending money at this company to test the vendor software? So Zach said, well, you know what we could do? We could keep our cost constant and run 85 tests, but I'm going to get significantly more coverage out of those 85 tests. We're going to redo them a little bit, Warren can re-automate them, and that'll work. And Zach said, or if the company wants to invest a little bit more money with RBC, we could increase our coverage to 202 test cases and get 100% coverage on pairwise values in those 30 reports. And here you can see the statistics, 65% coverage from the 85 test cases, 66% coverage from 40 of those test cases, so really the same coverage for half the price. We went from 65 to 86% test coverage with 85 test cases, so you know that's a good statistic for business people and project managers to look at. It's in black and white, and you can make a choice. Or do we just go with 100% test coverage? I loved what we decided to do. We said, let's not pay to do vendors testing anymore. We gave what we call now the Hexawise test suite to our vendor partner. And so look, we understand you don't know all of our data combinations. You've been missing a lot of defects. We've gone through this process. If you would run these 202 test cases before you deliver the application to us, we believe we'll get a much better quality product. You now understand what you need to test, and the vendor agreed to do that. We offered to share our automated suites. We shared them, I think, with one tool. The vendor decided to ultimately automate in a different way, but they've now automated this 202 suite of test cases. We asked for proof of testing before we accept the build the UAT. So we asked the vendor to share their data with us. So how many defects do you find before you deliver the application to us? They've been kind of willing to open up the covers and share that data. We were able to go back and say, The vendor found 67% of the total defects between their testing team and our testing team. We found 33% after they were running our Hexawise test suite. They were finding 98.5% of the defects. We're now finding 1.5%. We've committed to our management that we're going to greatly reduce the QA staff on this application. We've started to do that. Basically, I'm not sure I can share dollar values, but we're basically cutting our budget for QA on this by 90% for manual testing team. We're paying Warren's team to still do some automation, but any manual testing, not much. Some of the new feature testing development. Mysterious test coverage, collaboration is difficult, management concerns about the high cost of QA. I want to return to the story about our order entry application, what I started with, how it was the riskiest feature developed in this software. If it's wrong, we could cost the company a lot of money. The feature went live in April of this year. Zach's team, using the Hexawise test cases, found 557 defects before production. Can anybody guess how many defects we had post-production? Take a guess. There was 3, but they were Sev 3 and Sev 4. So that was the highest quality release we've ever done out of betaling, ever actually. It is exciting. It was great. I mean, how many of you guys can say that you've had like less than 0.05% defect leakage to production? That was such a story to be able to go to management and say, we reduced the amount of test cases we ran, and we got a better quality application. So after Hexawise, we have multiple test optimization options that are really easy to articulate and talk to project managers about. Collaboration was made easy, creative test design approaches. I can't tell, I was sharing a story, and I'll just share this one that's not on the slide. I had a vendor partner come to my office about 2 months ago and say, here's my suite of test cases, and it was 350 test cases. I said, did you Hexawise this? He kind of looked sheepishly. No. He's new. He wasn't trained on Hexawise. I said, look, you need to go back, work with your Capgemini manager. And I decided that we're going to have some FTE oversight on it. So I asked Zach to work with this person. They got the test suite down to 70 test cases. Zach and I went to present the suite to the business, and they couldn't believe the test coverage and how easy it was to see all the attributes and parameters. This person had never, the business person had never seen Hexawise before, the tool view, and was blown away. So collaboration made it easy. People are understanding what we're doing, and we've actually, and Stefan may be surprised to hear this, we've actually had some executive recognition for QA's team's value. I was in a meeting with my boss's boss's boss a couple weeks ago. He said, I've heard so many good things about your QA team. I'm going to be in Minneapolis later this week. I'd like to meet with your team and thank them in person. So he came and sat down and said, thank you for what you've done. That's my story.
Awesome.
Maybe one other time I'm going to pick on my husband. He's in the back home. Hi, Eric. I think Eric has maybe mentioned to me, oh, I don't think this applies to the application I'm working on. I call it the special snowflake syndrome. Zach was the biggest skeptic.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Warren
The
remembers
biggest
Justin
naysayer.
been talking about it. This guy's brilliant. I'm very, very fortunate. I have really smart people on the QA team that have been in QA for years. I've been in QA about 20 years. And Zach just said, oh, come on. Another tool. I don't really believe this. He asked Justin so many questions, and Zach became a convert. And he really understood the value of this, and now Zach's the biggest proponent of this tool at the company. And I just asked, I think it's important to be open-minded, and I really truly believe this can apply to any application you're testing. It really can. It's just a different way of thinking about test case design.